Hello and welcome back to our home to haven. Please come along with me this week as I make a boule of sourdough bread, English muffins, and cheese crackers, all made with sourdough. So come along. To begin my sourdough journey this summer, I had to wake up my starter, which we have lovingly named Agatha, as in Christy. Don't ask us why, because I literally couldn't tell you. We keep our starter in the refrigerator when we're not using this, and this has been a successful way for us to keep waste to a minimum, considering that even during our most busy sourdough season and baking months, we make bread weekly at a maximum. So I just feed with a 1:1 weight ratio of starter water flour, and I just use plain white flour for feeding, and it works great. When I take the starter out of the refrigerator, I don't wait for it to warm up when I feed it. I do add warm or room temperature water, and I will sometimes sit it in a bowl of warm water to help speed up the fermentation process after I have mixed everything. This jar that you see is amazing. My husband got this for me. Made specifically for sourdough. As you can see, there is a band where you set the original level of the sourdough so you can see where there has been rising and growth, and there's actually a 24-hour time chart on there so you can mark it at the line on the jar. So this is so worth the investment. I would 100% say this is a good purchase. It took all night for this starter to wake up and rise, so here we are the next morning, and I am measuring out my ingredients for this bread. I am using fresh milled flour for both of my bread products. I prefer to use recipes that use weight instead of volume when I am using wheat berries, because it's not a one-for-one swap when milled. You get more product when you are going by volume. Plus, I wanted to make sure that I get the hydration right. I have a very difficult time with high hydration doughs, and I want to make sure that I follow my recipes to a T so I can find out where I am going wrong. I also really like to use fresh milled wheat because I get all of the nutrients in the wheat, and I like to use the volume method because I can measure out exactly what I need so I don't have any left over, because fresh milled wheat loses 50% of its nutrition within 24 hours. So I try to use just only what I am baking for that day. Otherwise, I will keep getting this machine out of its box to maintain freshness and the health aspect of milling fresh wheat. All of these recipes are from a cookbook I purchased. It's called, actually it was a book that my husband gave me, called Artisan Sourdough Made Simple by Emily Raffa. I have not had a bad recipe from her yet. Her recipes call for white or bread flour, so I just convert those to fresh milled whole wheat. The second sourdough item I baked was English muffins. I plan on making breakfast sandwiches for the freezer, so I will let you know how that goes. My daughter ate 2 of these English muffins the next morning, so we can attest to the fact that they are delicious. Also, side note, I apologize if my frownies are a distraction. I like to keep them on for as long as I can. However, my husband said that they were detracting from what I was doing. Now that we use raw milk, I save any that we haven't gone through during the week as we get our new delivery. Freezing milk is a new one for me. However, raw milk does not spoil. It just ferments as it gets older. And as long as you're using it in a meal where it is not the main flavor, such as these English muffins, it works perfectly. This is an enriched bread, and I had to heat up both the milk and butter to let that melt, and then I had to take it off the burner and let it cool for this recipe. So this wasn't really a fun thing to do for me as I don't have the patience. So if you do this, just pour yourself some coffee and relax. I started baking with freshly milled grains about 3 years ago when I listened to a podcast on the benefit of fresh milled wheat. It contains about 26 of our 28 needed vitamins and minerals. I'm speaking from memory right now, so I would encourage you to do some research to see what you find. Isn't that cool? Now I am making discard cheese crackers. The original recipe calls for Gruyere, but I don't have any, so I'm using cheddar, which is something we always have enough of. Now, I don't really consider any sourdough discard, I just consider it extra. You can feed the discard just as you would a starter, and it will function as any sourdough. So I think that's where a lot of confusion comes in. A lot of people just throw it away, and I don't. I like to eliminate waste in my home. Anyways, this is the easiest dough to make, and I am using regular white flour for this, and I use my food processor with the really cool dough blade attachment. And once I have this all mixed up, I just flatten it into a disc and throw it in the refrigerator, and I let it cool. Now, I don't mind using white flour in recipes like these, especially when we aren't eating a large amount at one time, or we shouldn't be eating a lot at one time. And also, I know it sounds strange, but if I am using Walmart cheese and not all whole ingredients, I don't really mind if it's fresh milled flour or not. It sounds right in my head, so let's go with that. So, first sourdough bread of the year. This is 100% fresh milled wheat. It smells so good. It didn't rise as much as I wanted to. It's a cake. It's a cake. It didn't rise as much as I wanted to. It did just a little bit, but excuse me. It did rise just a little bit, not as much as I wanted it to, but you know, it'll work. I'm just still trying to learn the whole fresh milled sourdough. So, but it's got a good crack to it. So, on to the next one. So, English muffins were not a fail like I thought they would be. Sorry, outfit change. Also, bread is a little bit dense, but still delicious. I prefer to use a griddle to cook my English muffins. I find that it's easier to adjust the heat rather than using the stove and a cast iron skillet. Plus, I can cook more at the same time. I actually forgot these crackers in the refrigerator for a whole day, but that's okay. So here I am rolling this out. I learned to hit cold dough with the rolling pin first. I'm not sure why. Claire Sappitz told me to. I use the pizza cutter to put these into squares, and I don't really measure. I just use my heart feel for that. And then I never get actual crispy, crunchy crackers. So if you have any solutions, let me know. Thank you for being here this week as I made the sourdough meals. Not meals, but delicious items, my breads and such. So I don't think there were any fails with that, which is surprising. So I'm happy about this week, and thank you for being here, and I hope that you subscribe. Thank you. Bye.